everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're brand new here, I'm Stav and this is my channel, She Equips Herself. Today I'm excited to bring you a video that I'm calling The 6 Truths About Carrying a Gun, and it was inspired by an email that I sent out last week to my email list. If you're not on my email list yet, I will include the link below so that you don't miss any of this stuff I send out. It's also a great way for me to keep in contact with you in case something happens with certain social media platforms. So if you haven't joined my email list yet, please make sure to click the link below and join. I've been trying to be more active on there and send weekly emails, and this was one of the ones I sent. It was called 4 Truths About Carrying a Gun, and I wanted to make it a video and add 2 more truths that I can share with all of you. Because a lot of you have asked me to make stickers, that I do have stickers available in my merch store. So if you want to get a She Equips Herself sticker, there are 2 different sizes. I'll also include the link to my merch below, and you guys can purchase a sticker if you want to support my channel and what I do at She Equips Herself. Something you may not know about me is that I am an optimist. I'm a glasses half full, everything's gonna work out kind of person. So talking in depth about the challenges of carrying a firearm kind of goes against my nature, but I think that it's important to talk about these things because they are realities of what happens when you start to carry a gun. So it's important for you to know if you carry a gun or if you're thinking about carrying a gun. I will say that at the end of this video, I have some positive information for you to take away from it, so make sure you stick around to the end. But let's start with number 1. The first truth about carrying a gun is that they are uncomfortable. And you guys know I have so many different types of holsters. A lot of my videos I'm showing you how to carry in different outfits, and I use a lot of different holsters, and I've tried a ton of them. And the truth is that it's never totally unnoticeable that you're carrying a gun. If you're carrying a piece of metal and plastic on your body that doesn't weigh nothing all day long, you're gonna feel it and it's gonna be uncomfortable. And that's just the truth. No matter what holster you wear, some are more comfortable than others, but the truth is that a lot of the times it's gonna be uncomfortable and you are gonna notice it. I love to be barefoot. I love minimalism and just simplicity. So having to add a holster and a gun onto my body every day is a bit of a pain, and that's just the truth. But to me, it's worth it. Depending on your body type and how you carry, this will differ. Some of my holsters are much more comfortable than others. Some of them I can't even bear to wear for more than 20 minutes. So it does take a lot of figuring out what works for you. But I will say that at least for me personally, I don't have a holster that is completely, totally comfortable and unnoticeable, where I don't know that I have a gun on my body. All right, truth number 2. They might make you paranoid. And I don't say that in the sense that you're gonna think that someone's trying to kill you all the time, but I do mean it in the sense that you might be afraid that someone's gonna notice it, or someone noticing that you have a gun on your body. And depending on where you live, it might be more normal than in other places. For example, I was born and raised in Boston. That's where I got my first gun license, which I know seems impossible, but it's not. And when I started carrying there, Boston's not a gun-friendly city by any means. Massachusetts as a whole is not a very gun-friendly state. It might be totally different where you live depending on what state you are in, but for me, when I first started carrying, I was worried that people were gonna notice it, because if they did, it's not really normal to be carrying a gun here. At least the majority of people don't think that that's the case. So I was a little bit paranoid that someone was gonna notice it on me. If I had to reach up high for something, was my holster gonna show? If someone came in for a hug, would they feel it on me? And I come from a very huggy culture and family. I'm Greek, and we are very touchy-feely. So there's a lot of hugs going around, and I was nervous that someone was gonna feel it on me, and that's a legitimate concern. You might not want people to know you have a gun, and if you're carrying on your waist and they come in for a hug and you hug them the wrong way, they might feel it. So you might develop a bit of paranoia about whether or not people notice that you have a gun on your body, and that's just part of the deal. Number 3 is a little bit obvious, but it's very important. Carrying a gun is a huge responsibility, and that's probably one of the most important truths. Having the ability to cause death or serious bodily harm to another person is a weight that you're gonna carry literally every day you put a gun on your body. Every single interaction you have will involve a lethal tool simply because you brought one. And that's something that you need to remember. It should cause you to try to avoid dangerous situations, even more so than before you started carrying a gun. Just because I have a gun on my body now, that doesn't mean that I should go run at night, where before I wouldn't do that because it's dangerous. I want to continue to avoid dangerous situations, especially because I have a lethal tool on my body and I have that ability to cause death or serious bodily harm to someone else. So just remember, it's a big responsibility, not something you should take lightly, and you should be even more aware of the situations that you're getting into because you're carrying a gun. Okay, the fourth truth that I shared in my email is that it is an entire lifestyle change. And that means that it's going to affect a lot of different parts of your life. If you have children in your home, you really need to invest in safes and devices that are going to keep your guns out of the hands of children and people who are not authorized to access your guns. You might have to move things around in your home and figure out ways that you can get to your gun, but your child can't. You have to make sure that they can't get to the guns that you're now housing in your home, because it's your responsibility as an adult and as a responsible gun owner to not allow unauthorized access to your firearms. It also might change your budget a bit, because once you start buying firearms, it's your responsibility to start investing in classes and training. And if you want to start carrying a gun, that's really important. Investing in classes and training, usually whatever basic safety course you took is not going to be enough. You need to know the legalities of lethal force and non-lethal force, when you can use each one. And you also need to know how to use your firearm properly, because you don't want to be unsafe and you want to be effective if you ever need to use it. And once you start taking those classes, it might change your calendar because you have to travel or go away for classes. Unless you take my Armed and Confident Academy, which you can take from the comfort of your own home. That one wouldn't change your calendar as much. But some courses will require you to move things around in your schedule. And you're gonna have to figure out how these now fit. That was Mila. And you're gonna now have to figure out how these things fit into your life, and it's gonna change things a little bit. Okay, the fifth truth that I'm gonna share here that I did not share in my email is that guns might change your relationships with others. Some people in your life who you've been friends with forever, or even your family, might have a very strong opinion about firearms that goes against your opinion. So they might not think that guns are okay. They might think that the Second Amendment is not important. They might not even want you around them if they think you're carrying a gun. And I've had people say that they don't want any guns in their house because they know that I carry and they don't want me carrying a gun in their house. That only happened to me once, and I'm not friends with that person anymore, so that kind of resolved itself in other ways. But it's a possibility. Even your own family, they might not want you around if you're carrying a gun. Here's my advice for dealing with this situation. I think that the number one reason why people are so anti-gun is a lack of education and a lack of basic safety training. I think that if you get to take that person to the range, if you ever are able to do that, I think that's great. Teach them the basic safety rules and how to handle a gun safely. And just that education will make people a lot more comfortable with the idea of guns, because I think there are a lot of misconceptions and things spread by the media out there that make people more afraid of guns. And I think that injecting education and knowledge into the spot where fear is living is kind of an antidote to that fear. So if you can talk to them about gun safety, take them to the range, you might be able to change their opinion a little bit. If you're not able to do that, then, you need to decide whether or not you're gonna just carry a gun anyway and conceal it so they don't know it's on you, or if you're just not gonna go to that person's house anymore. Some people are very extreme about this, and they'll make it very known that they don't like the fact that you're carrying a gun, and other people might not really care. So it's just something you might have to deal with if you carry a gun. People who are very close to you even might not agree with it. So the sixth and final truth I want to share about carrying a gun is that it's not as simple as buying and starting to carry a gun. There are some things in between that are really important. And the first and most important one, in my opinion, is knowing the legalities of it, which I mentioned a little bit before, but taking a use of force class and a law class in your state so that you know your state's use of force law is extremely important, and it's one of the first things that I started to learn about when I wanted to carry a gun. So before I even started carrying a gun, I learned about lethal force in Massachusetts, and the law. And it's really important to know that, because you, as a good guy, you don't want to get in trouble and have to deal with the emotional and psychological legal repercussions of using the wrong kind of force just because you thought, oh, I took a basic class and I thought that was enough, so I started carrying a gun. It's not enough. You need to do some things in between, and learning the law is a very important first step. Another thing you should be doing is training consistently with the gun that you choose to carry, because if you ever need to use it, you want to be able to do so effectively. And also, being diligent about safety is one of the things I'm most passionate about, and I talk a lot about that in my Armed and Confident Academy. That's the first thing we talk about, is safety and why it's so important, and how to be really diligent about it, because the more you start carrying a gun, you might get a little complacent with safety, and I think it's really important to remind ourselves constantly to be diligent about firearm safety. If you start carrying a gun and you've been carrying it for 5, 10, 15 years, you might get really comfortable and you'll let things slide that you wouldn't do before. But having the same mindset you had the very first time you started learning about guns versus 20 years later is going to really benefit you in terms of safety, and that's something you need to constantly remind yourself about. Okay, so let's talk about the good news. The good news is that it's all worth it. All of the discomfort, the money you put into training, the time that it takes, the lifestyle changes, it's all worth it to be able to carry a firearm on your body. I feel extremely fortunate because I see comments and emails from you guys all the time in other countries where you say you're not allowed to carry a gun because your government does not let you. And I think that's a huge tragedy, and I'm not gonna get into the politics of it all. I'm just really grateful that I can carry this gun on my body and defend myself if I ever needed to. It's something that I'm very grateful for. I'm really grateful to live where I live and be able to do that. And the more you carry a gun, you'll learn ways to cope with these different challenges, as I have. And that's one reason I wanted to create my online course, the Armed and Confident Academy, so that I could share my solutions with you guys. If you've been carrying for a while, you might already have solutions to these 6 truths, and I think that's amazing. Maybe you can share some insights that you've learned as you've continued carrying over the years. But if you're brand new to this, I encourage you to check out the curriculum for my Armed and Confident Academy, because we go over a lot of these things and I share with you how I've overcome them and give you the confidence to make a gun a part of your daily life. So I hope you guys like this video. I got a really great response from that email I sent out from you guys. You can always respond back to me. I read all the emails. I try to respond to all of them. So if you're in my email list and you get an email from me and you want to share something or respond back, please do. I will read it, and I just appreciate all of you so much. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe. Bye.